Welcome to Bottle Rocket with Elena Sucheva, your top hockey podcast. Hello, Bottle Rocket listeners. Welcome back. I'm Elena, joined as always by Stan and Jerry. And today we are excited to welcome back Mark Nussbaum, hockey scout and the biggest Leafs fan. Hey, Mark. Good to have you back.
Thanks for having me back, guys. So good to see you. And it's an honor to be back on the podcast the week after one of my mentors was here, Bobby Holik. So great to be back. And thank you for having me.
I wanted just to ask you a question. Because your self-assigned title of biggest Leafs fan at the present time, since they're not in a playoff berth, why don't you just be the middle biggest? I should talk. The Rangers. The Rangers are like Misha Auer in a bad movie. What a terrible. You know. This is the. I have to say, I started watching the Rangers in person in 1942, which was even before my bar mitzvah, which also was a circus. But anyhow, the point is, this is the worst. We are watching. There are two rich teams in the NHL. The richest two teams are the Maple Leafs and the Rangers. And these schnorrers can't even make the playoffs. I can't understand. And the point is, knowing what to do with the dough is better than throwing the dough. Am I right, Mark?
Absolutely, Maeve. Absolutely.
Well, we're going to talk about your favorite team, and it was my favorite team, so I do have a little feel for it. If you subtract Tavares, I'd really like the Leafs, but we can't do that.
Maeve, you've had Tavares' number circled since July 1st, 2018. I know that, since he signed.
I don't think anything about the Leafs is funny now, because really, when you look at it, I'm not a Canadian, but you're looking at it from a Canadian viewpoint. Vancouver's not going to make the playoffs, right? Calgary's not going to make the playoffs, right? Winnipeg's not going to make the playoffs, right? And Maple Leafs might. Huh?
How about Oilers? Do they have a chance? I think.
Yeah, the Oilers are going to make the playoffs.
No. I mean, we're talking about the generally acknowledged, with the exception of Tavares, the generally acknowledged best player in hockey now is McDavid, right?
I would say so.
When I said with the exception of Tavares, you were supposed to laugh. That was supposed to be a joke.
Maeve, it's a tough time for us Leaf fans right now. There's not a lot of comical things going on, so it's a little hard to laugh. But I do appreciate your humor as always. You know that.
Okay, let's analyze. First of all, I throw this out to you people who are Canadians. Are you a Canadian, Mark?
Yeah, I'm a dual citizen, but I grew up and was born and raised in Canada. I'm a proud Canadian.
Okay. So how do you explain Vancouver no, Calgary no, and Winnipeg no, and maybe Maple Leafs no? How does this happen?
It's an aberration. It's just like last year, how many Canadian teams qualified for the playoffs? I mean, almost all of them. So, this year just seems to be the year where no Canadian. I mean, Ottawa's not going to make it. It looks like Montreal will probably be in. Maybe Montreal, Edmonton are probably the only two Canadian teams going to make it. And we had a guest on earlier. I don't remember who it was who said that with the salary cap, it shouldn't matter if teams are rich or not. But that's not true, because Toronto and New York should have more than enough money to invest in their scouting departments and their minor league feeder systems and free agents, out of college. They should be able to attract a lot of free agents out of college, the top ones. So, having that much money, you should be able to be competitive, if not, dominant. And so it kind of behooves me that they are so inept, in their management that they can't even climb above mediocrity.
You know what? You're 100% right. And I show you exactly why you're right. They drafted a guy first overall, okay? Another guy, they drafted this guy, Othman.
Brennan
Othman.
Othman, yeah. He's a local boy.
But he's this guy. This is 3 years ago. The Hockey News pegged him as one of the top prospects. The next year's top prospect. They brought the guy up this year. Every time they bring him up, he's a bum. He's no damn good. Well, like T-Bag says, you had to have some scouts there to see this guy, his flaws, or when they assign him to the AHL team in Hartford, they got plenty of time to look and see, make this guy better or not better. He's a total flop. If he was a Broadway show, he would be closed in one day.
Yeah, I want to chime in here for a minute. T-Bag's bringing up some excellent points. I believe that no matter, and Maeve, you are 100% right as well. Nobody's in the wrong here. I think when you have the financial resources that the Leafs and the Rangers both possess, I think the opportunity to invest in your scouting, to invest in your analytical departments, your assistant GMs, your developmental coaches, your goalie coaches, your video coaches, everything can happen at a level that, for example, the Winnipeg Jets can't. Yet at the same time, you're sitting there in the standings and you're looking at yourself and you're like, what is going on here? You're right. The salary cap makes things more of an even flow in terms of the players and the game and the even hockey, which is really what the NHL wanted, right? When they implemented a salary cap 20 so years ago, because they wanted hockey to be more even play as opposed to baseball, which is more lopsided, unfortunately, where there's no salary cap and there's a luxury tax. And now some would make the argument maybe the NHL should have a luxury tax because it's not fair to some of the teams that do make more money off ticket sales and TV marketing, and it should benefit them just as a tax-free state benefits Florida and Dallas. The states of Texas and the states of Florida don't have a state income tax. But at the same time, I think I hear both arguments, but it's not an excuse to deploy a hockey team the way the Leafs and the Rangers respectively both have this year, with the amount of development coaches, the amount of investment that's put into the program and the team and the front office. It's unacceptable. And I believe the biggest issue is, and Bobby touched on it last week. I listened to a little bit of the podcast because Bobby and the Maeve are two of my mentors, and I look up to them in tremendous ways. And I heard Bobby say something that was so true. He said that hockey's made up of just humility, and humility comes from, in my opinion, and I've discussed this with Bobby and the Maven both respectively, accountability. And I don't believe the Leafs or the Rangers at the highest levels of their front office are holding themselves accountable to a level that they probably should. And nobody's paying for mistakes that probably should be paid for. I don't think Chris Drury should be GM anymore there. He hasn't done the greatest job. I'm not saying he's a bad general manager. I'm just saying over the last couple of years, his track record would indicate that he's probably not the man for the job there. And I've discussed this with Bobby as well. I also believe the Rangers specifically, their draft and development model, as you can see, has just not been up to par, and it's completely unacceptable. When he drafted Alexi Lafreniere first overall, when he drafted Cabo Kako second overall, when he drafted Brendan Othman, if you want to go back a couple of years, when they drafted Elias Anderson, ninth overall, when they drafted that Russian kid, I'm forgetting his name, he got traded to Vancouver. He's playing in the KHL now. Is it acceptable that some kids don't pan out? Of course, the odds are stacked against you. But to have that many first-round picks not pan out in an organization that prides themselves in making, development and investing money in coaches and front office people that are supposed to help you and provide you with the help along the way, it's just utterly unacceptable. And I think the Leafs have a similar problem, except the Leafs have had less assets to use. So when the Leafs are not bringing up as many prospects, it's because they've been trading a lot of their picks, which, by the way, is a different issue because the Leafs have an asset management issue where we've traded too many prospects and picks away for players that have not lived up to their end of the deal, and it's happened too many times over the last half decade or so, which has put us in this position where we are not a playoff team. We could be, I guess, a fringe playoff team, but at the same time, we are relying on some older players, some slower players. The identity that Craig Berube wants to input on this team is not there because the players he has, they don't have that recipe for that. There's not enough foot speed. We're slow. Our best defenseman is 37 and injured. Chris Tanev, and he's a wonderful player, but when he's your best defenseman, you got to look in the mirror and say, what's going on with our blue line? Our goalies were out of this world last year, and this year they've come down to earth a little bit, which is, it's okay. They're human, but our team shouldn't be like this if our goalies are like this, meaning we're not built properly. The way Berube wants to coach is not the way the team is built. There's zero accountability. There's not many prospects coming. There are not many assets, and the Rangers have very similar issues.
Well, I want to ask you a question based on the Rangers. The irony of the Rangers is that the co-tenant is the Knickerbockers. The owner of the team, Jim Dolan, loves basketball, and he basically, he'll look over his shoulder at hockey once in a while. Now, based on reality, the reality is that the Schlemiel, who is the general manager of the team, Drury, has gone through 3 coaches. He's on a 4th coach now, and he struck out on the coaches, okay? He struck out in so many other ways. The team goes from the President's Trophy winners to out of the playoffs. From that out of the playoffs, he brings in another coach, and this coach is worse than the others. This is a terrible situation. What is my point? If this was basketball, I don't think Jimmy Dolan would have kept either the GM, who is struck out, or the coach. Now, this is the 4th year. This is the 4th year now that this guy is going to be coaching a non-playoff team. How the hell do you bring a guy like that? He had 3 years with Crosby and Malkin, and he couldn't make the playoffs. And now they finally dumped him, and they brought this guy Muse from whatever his name is, who was with the Rangers before, and he's got the Penguins right in there. So it's dumb and dumber, and an owner who is obviously not oblivious, but doesn't care. Because if you cared, you would have got them the hell out of here by now.
And Maeve, you're bringing up such a wonderful point. Before I answer your question, I just want to just correct myself. The 9th overall pick I was referring to, the Russian kid, was Vitaly Kravtsov. He also was, there's a hype train around that kid like no other. Didn't pan out. And the other pick in that draft was, they drafted in the late 20s, was Keandre Miller, and he's not even there anymore. So it's just so funny that the Rangers, again, similar to the Leafs, where they're like, just the asset management and the development is just not there. It's just crazy because it's so interesting. Anyways, in terms of the ownership, Maeve, I agree with you 100%. Look at some of the new owners in the NHL, a.k.a. Bill Foley of the Vegas Golden Knights, Ryan Smith of the Utah Mammoth. Both owners expressed a desire to win, build themselves, make themselves a destination. Look how Utah turned around since they've gone there. Since in Arizona, they were playing in a college rink. And I have a soft spot for Coyotes. I've always loved the Coyotes. I love Shane Doan. Like, I'm a Leaf fan, but the Coyotes were always my team in the West, where I always kept an eye on and was hoping they make a playoff run. And in 2012, when they made that run to the conference final, it was a lot of fun. But they were a little bit of a laughing stock. They got Taylor Hall for a second. They made the bubble playoffs and they got in. Other than that, they were a laughing stock the last half decade or so. And that's due to weak ownership. They suddenly get to Utah. Suddenly they're paying their players. They're building a world-class practice facility, and they're in the hunt in the playoffs. And they're an exciting team to watch, and everyone wants to be there. They're exciting. They're young, and I think right now they're fifth in the West right now. So they're 7 games over 500. They're 4 points back of Vegas. Like, they're in really good shape. And now look at Vegas. Obviously it goes without saying, making the cup your first year, that was a Cinderella run for sure. But then winning a cup, making the cup, like just all of this transpires, and you say to yourself, like, these are owners that care. Bill Foley, Ryan Smith. Look what's going on in Florida, turning themselves from a laughing stock, Tampa Bay, all of these teams. So maybe your point is 100% accurate and 100% spot on, because I think that ownership really does. It boils down to, do you really want to win, or are you like, we're going to fill, or Jimmy Dolan's like, am I going to fill seats in the Garden anyway? And if I want to fill seats, mediocrity is okay. I'm okay with it because, like you said, they're not the Nickelbackers.
Are the Maple Leafs going to make it?
No.
I think I'll tell you the honest truth. Right now, the Leafs sit 12th in the conference. We are 6 points back of a playoff spot. I think we could make it if we play a certain round of hockey. Do I think we should make it? No. I think we should sell. If you ask me personally, I'm a little extreme. I don't know if Brad Treliving would agree with me. It could be deep down he would. I think we should sell everything. I look at it as a very simple analogy. Can you beat the San Jose Sharks in a 7-game series right now? I don't think so. And the San Jose Sharks, I'm saying this honestly. I love my Leafs, but if you can't beat the Sharks and you don't have a first round pick, and your star players just don't look engaged, like Nylander, I don't know if you guys saw him giving the bird to the camera a couple of weeks ago. That sums up our season. Matthews has been off and on. I think he just wants to get to the Olympics, which he's at now. I don't think he's 100% healthy. I think he just wants to play for Team USA. Tavares is, I'm sorry, he's still a good player, but he's also just a little older. He's not young anymore. So, for him to be, he's not a perennial 40 goal scorer. Like, he'll still pop 30 this year, which is great. But you're just, and when you subtract Marner from that, you're taking away a strength and turning it into, we're a decent offense, and suddenly everything else just looks bad. What made the Leafs special, or what made them like more special than other teams in terms of their offense, was we had 4 players who were, on the high end talent level compared to other players in the NHL. Meaning they were 4 players in the upper echelon at their positions. Now, when you subtract one of those 4 players on a team where you have to ice 12 forwards every night, so instead of 4 of 12, it's 3 of 12. You're going from 33% to about 22%. So you're taking it's just a huge number to take away, and one of the best two-way wingers. So when you take that away and you bring in Dakota Joshua and you bring in, these again, Matias Maccelli, and I'm not saying they're bad players. These guys are good players. They work hard. They're fun they're enjoyable to watch. But you're just not. And they're like, Maccelli and Joshua combined scored 25 goals, which was what Marner scored. And if Matthews is a healthy season, I'll have 10 more assists. And everyone's making these calculations as to how we'll make up the points. It doesn't work like that. Your power play doesn't look the same. The depth takes a hit. Your speed takes it because you're taking away one of the best two-way wingers. So if you ask me if the Leafs are going to make the playoffs, the short answer is no. The long answer is probably also no. Is there a chance they could sneak in? Yes. If Wall and Stolarz play out of their minds. But at the end of the day, is it in our best interest as a fan base to get into the playoffs? Absolutely not, in my humble opinion. No way. No way.
What about the captain? Is he a good captain? Is he
No.
good?
No.
Is he? No, why not?
Doesn't talk to the media. Doesn't hold his players. Doesn't talk to the media before or after games. He just throws Tavares out there.
Wait a minute. Wait. You're telling me that the captain doesn't talk to the media?
Yeah, everyone else.
How does the media let him get away with that?
I think the team does, because again, when there's no accountability in an organization, sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't. You can ask Elena. She probably. I'm sure she's seen this.
Terrible. That's the worst.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah, I think he's too soft to be a captain. They should have never taken the C away from Tavares in the first place.
What is Matthews' reason for not talking to the media? The media doesn't have measles, as far as we know.
Yeah, he doesn't handle criticism well. He avoids confrontation. And when he doesn't have answers, you can see it. That's not what you want from a captain.
Do you have any connections with the Maple Leaf organization?
Yeah, I do.
No, I'm talking to Elena. You go to games a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Now, I wanted to make a suggestion. Obviously, Matthews is nervous about talking to the media. If you could talk to somebody close to the top, I want to suggest that they hire me and Jerry. And she's laughing. She doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, and you're laughing. Please, they hire me and Jerry. Jerry will tell Matthews a joke before the game, and I'll tell him a joke after, and then he'd come out laughing. And what do you think? And our rates are low, right, Jerry?
That's right. We work cheap, so. Yeah. When Marcus Naslund became captain for the Canucks, he was in the same boat. He was very shy. He didn't want to talk to the media, and he went to Trevor Linden. And Linden told him that it's just a necessary evil, that you have to do it, and you just got to make the best of it. Try to have fun with it, and they're going to be happy with cliches and milquetoast answers. You just do the best you can and try not to worry about it. And Marcus Naslund was great after that. So I don't somebody's just got to pull Matthews aside and tell him that that's part of being a captain is having to talk to the media.
I'm afraid it's too late. Afraid it's too late. Who is the most likable Maple Leaf now?
Matthew Nice, probably. I was a bit shocked the other night when he was interviewed and asked about the standings. They asked him, "Are you aware where the Maple Leafs are?" And he was like, "No, I didn't really check them, but we're still going to make the playoffs, no doubt about it." And I was like, "Really? How can you not see that we're basically in the basement?" What do you think about that, Mark?
Honestly, I'm okay with it. I think when you have that attitude, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, especially a player that brings 100% every night. Matthew Nice definitely does. Like, I don't think he's naive. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he's a smart man, a smart young man, very capable, clearly. I think he's trying to keep the vibes up, and I don't have an issue with it. Like, I don't think he's being naive. I think he's just trying to. Again, there's just the Leafs room lacks character, and I think it's a big problem. I think rooms need character. I think rooms need I think Coach Berube has that. I don't know what the investment in terms of the players are with it, and it bothers me because it's just sad. I'm a young kid. I'm 22. I just remember when Matthews got drafted, and I was 13 years old, turning 14, and I don't think any of us ever envisioned less than a decade later being here with this mess. I think a lot of us envisioned a Stanley Cup or two. I think a lot of us envisioned deep playoff runs, and unfortunately, none of us got our wish. And I think there was I just don't understand how some people still are in the positions they are. I don't think any of these people are, I think they're all wonderful people. I think they're good people. I don't think they're bad. I don't, it makes zero sense to me how Austin Matthews was drafted in 2016, and here we are. And this is what we're dealing with, this type of mediocrity. I think it's just completely unacceptable. I think it's an embarrassment to the fans. I think if you want to talk about, every player talks about the honor and the pleasure and the pride it is to wear the maple leaf. And I just don't see that right now. And it's just very troublesome to me because as a true, genuine fan who loves and cares for this team, I don't see the players putting that sweater on every day and saying, wow, this is a real honor. This is something that really I care about. I think there are some players, and I think even you can agree to this. Maybe you won't just because you hate him so much, but I think Tavares actually does I think he embellishes that. I think he does, but I don't think every player does. And I think that's part of the issue and the root of the problem is the character, the traits. I think it's beautiful. What's really it's just sad to see. And I think Sidney Crosby brings that every day in Pittsburgh. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dan Muse has got his 38 and 39-year-old 1-2 punch down the middle who've been there for 20 years. And somehow, some way, they're in the thick of things in the playoff spot right now. And looking awfully close to being buyers at the deadline. And their third line center is an 18-year-old kid out of Western Canada named Ben Kendall, who's having a hell of a year. And we don't have this in Toronto. And it sucks, but it's strength of character. And it looks like Macklin Celebrini is more mature than some of our players, and he's the youngest player in the league. It's whatever, one of him and Schaefer. But it's sad to me that we just don't have the strength of character that, it seems is needed to win a Stanley Cup. Because you look at Florida, you look at Colorado, you look at Tampa, you look at Vegas, you look at the recent winners, and you look at the strength of character they have in their room and the way they hold themselves, the way they care about their other teammates. Everyone's going to the media. Everyone's talking. Everyone's holding themselves accountable. Everybody really, really wants it. And I just don't think that our team, some of our better players possess that want. I think a lot of them rather be on the golf course or on vacation, which is fine. But just let us know so that we can know how much we want to invest in this.
Who was the owner of the team? Rogers?
Edward Rogers.
You realize the total illogic of this business about not wanting to talk to the media? If a guy, I've interviewed Tavares many, many times when he was on the air, and I have no problem with Tavares except for what he did to the Islanders. And he was there. He was there after almost every kind of game. Not all of them, but that's not the point. The point is, this guy Rogers should go down to the dressing room one day with a little calculator. You know that a person who is being interviewed will not be talking for more than a minute. There's hardly anything there is to say unless they're asked about a specific play. So let's say it's a minute for the player. A minute once in a while. once in a while. You know how much money these guys are making? We're talking about millions, and you're telling me for 1 minute of your 80 million whatever contract, you can't just talk for 1 minute? What the hell is this crazy world? And these guys, it's you know what? My late great friend Harry Honest, when he owned the Blues, he always used to say, "It defies credulity." My friend, just a couple of questions. We're not going to strangle you. We're not going to do anything nasty. Just answer a couple of 2 minutes. No, not 2 minutes. A minute between 30 seconds and a minute. Can you spare that from all your dough? No. How can you not? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Agreed, Maeve. Couldn't agree with you more, Maeve. You're 100% correct.
And the bottom line is they're spoiled brats with exceptions. With exceptions. The Islanders happen to have what I call a lovable team. Whether they make it or not, they're walking a tightrope all the time. But they're mentions. They're good guys. They're good guys. They're a team. No matter what they do, preferably win, they're lovable. But you never know from night to night. They're going to win, they're going to lose because of all the problem. They talk. They talk. I've never, well, all the time I covered the Islanders and I covered the Devils. No problem. No problem. It was wonderful. Now, I heard something interesting. You guys might have heard of it. The Rangers made this deal. Panarin, the bread man, is now out in the coast, and they got some junior guy. You know about that?
Liam Greentree plays in Windsor. He's the captain of the team.
Guess what? The Rangers will not let the media talk to this guy. Now, imagine if this poor guy had some infection of the tongue and he couldn't talk. They had to feel sorry for them. Well, these guys have tongues; they can talk, And if you talk, I never met a hockey player. If you interviewed a guy for more than 50 seconds, he's going to collapse and he's like, oh, I'm not going to do anything. It's crazy. It's a crazy world. But you know what? We have to live with it, right? I know that because I've taken walks with Mark and I know how it is to live with it. Because instead of not talking, Mark chews my ear off. I had an operation done on this ear because he chewed my ear off. So,
Mark, if you're bred for living, what moves would you do right now? I heard a lot of rumors that they're trying to sell McMahon for the first round pick. Would he be worth it? Is it even possible? What would you do with the team? Whom would you sell? Whom would you keep?
Yeah, I think it's for sure worth it. If you can get McMahon for a first, that's great. It's great. That's actually excellent asset management in my head. Is it worth it for sure? Could it happen? Is a better question. I think it depends how the deadline goes. It will dictate how the Leafs can manage McMahon. I think if certain teams get really desperate, I think there's definitely a possibility that we can get a first, but we're gonna have to wait it out. It's not something that is going to happen tomorrow, especially obviously with the roster freeze now through the Olympics. But I think, yeah, I definitely think it's possible. I just think it has to happen at the right time with the right team and the right opportunity. And Brad just has to read that market well. In terms of what
the contenders, that's actual contenders right now, they don't have the first round pick, like Stars, Oilers, Minnesota.
It's true. I think it could be a team honestly, it depends on I don't see Pittsburgh doing something like that, but I think in terms of I think you could see it could be a team like Buffalo. It might not be one of those high, and it might be like Carolina. I don't think the Leafs will do with Montreal. It could be Utah. It could be Vegas. It could be Seattle. Teams. It could be one of those. It could be you're a young team, even like the Islanders, looking to reward their group, and they're in the fringe of a playoffs, and they feel that Bobby McMahon is a 20, 30 goal guy, somewhere in between there, 25. He can help, bring a forecheck, and he's a great playoff player. So that would be great. So if the Leafs can do something like that and take a kid who's a sixth round pick and turn him into something like that, that would be what we call wonderful asset management. And I would love that personally. If I were the Leafs, what I would do, they won't do this, but what I would do is just sell everything. That's what I would do. I'm not joking. I mean, sell, obviously it could be a Matthews trade or something like that has to happen in the offseason just to make sure it all makes sense. But I would keep Nice. Maybe keep Willie just because like I don't think you have to sell him yet. But I would sell Matthews and just start building up. Like that's what I would do. I honestly would sell Willie, but these guys have no trade clauses. But I would keep Nyes, pretty much keep Benny Danford, who's our defenseman out in Brantford for the Bulldogs, the top OHL team this year. I would keep Easton Cowan. I would keep Scott Lawton because he's got great character. I'd keep a couple others, but like I would just sell and just restart because it's very simple to me. And Maeve, with your plethora of experience, you can attest to this and tell me if you agree with this analogy. Can this team win the Stanley Cup? The answer is no. So then why are we trying? Because we don't have assets to buy for more. We don't have enough assets to buy and make this team into contender. We're a borderline playoff team if we're lucky, which we're probably more of a 10-11 seed. We're not getting younger. We have no players coming up who are going to help us win tomorrow. And in this process of this team, it's just a disaster. And you could see it with the way this year's gone. Like we started the year, if he had a 9-0 1 stretch, everyone was buzzing around. Since then, it's been And like, you really think this team can win a Stanley Cup? Like, you really think that Colorado wouldn't wipe the floor with us in a 4-game, like in a best-of-7 series? Like Dallas, Colorado, any of these teams, Vegas, the biggest game of the year against Vegas, Friday night, Mitch Marner's homecoming. People bought tickets to come to that game. People saved up their weekly allowance to go to that game. And we fell flat on our heads. We didn't come skate. We showed up and we looked like a bunch of clowns. And you really think that in the biggest game of the year where that Matthews, that Nylander, well, the truth is Willie couldn't play, which because he got injured, but that Matthews is amped up to play in that game. The rest of the team is like, this guy left us. He already was checked out at the Four Nations when he was talking to Mark Stone about life in Vegas. You don't think that it made sense that the Leafs would be amped up and put their best foot forward and play, start on time and play 100% of that game? Yet we got our butts handed to us and we got our rear ends handed to the end of us. And here's where we are. So if you think of the most important game of the year that everyone had circled on their calendar, every single person did, you think that we can't, if we fall flat on our heads like that, you think that this team can make a playoff run? I think you're living in the clouds if you think that. And if you ask me, obviously you sell for the right, it's all about asset management and you have to get the right trade. And if that happens in the offseason, I respect that. But if I were Brad Treliving, I would go to the management and say, I want to present to you this. There's great drafts coming up. I believe we're going to start from scratch. And guess what? Matthew Nyes, he's 23 years old. He's young. I have no problem keeping him around. If there's an unbelievable offer for a guy like that, you maybe consider it. But just start. If not, you leave him around. And by the time you're good again, he's 26, 27, 28. And you just start from scratch because this mediocrity is just not going to work. It's not worth it. Nobody likes it. This team has been stuck like this from 2000, post when the NHL implemented the hard cap till about 2013, till that brutal playoff collapse against Boston. The team was they either sucked or they were mediocre. They would have hot streaks and good streaks, and Phil Kessel and Tyler Bozak, they were wonderful players, but you're not winning Stanley Cups and those guys are your number 1, 2 players in your team on your, leading your offense. So if I were you, Mr. Brad Treliving, with all due respect and the most respect and all the appreciation we have towards you, I would sell this team and build it right. Build from the draft, spend your money well. Don't give every player a no movement clause. Losing a player like Zach Hyman, losing Andreas Janssen, losing Kasperi Kapanen, losing these kids for nothing. Again, they didn't turn out to be superstars, but just the depth all left. Nazem Kadri, brutal trade. I just think about all these things. Trading Patrick Marleau in a first-round pick, and guess what? The Hurricanes swallow that, and who do they draft? Mr. Canadian Olympian, 25 goal scorer already from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Seth Jarvis. These things are unacceptable. They were never, ever, ever owned up to. There was zero accountability. And I just think that this is all part of the root of the issue, as the Maeve said earlier, ownership. And when ownership can look in the mirror, when Mr. Keith Pelly, who got hired 2 years ago and has not really spoken to the media much since, other than saying we want to build a winner and blah, 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 if they can look at themselves in the mirror and say, enough saying it, let's do it, I think it'd be very, very helpful to a fan base that is starving for just winning, optimism, and a playoff run. Not even a Stanley Cup, just a playoff run.
I think the first person you should get rid of, and Maeve said who's the most likable guy, and from all reports that I've heard, he's the absolute nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. But Morgan Riley has got to go. As long as you have Morgan Riley as your number 1 defenseman, you are going nowhere. He is terrible.
We can't get rid of him unless we buy him out.
It's an issue.
Well,
Rivalry's an issue.
you got to do what you got to do because there was a game a few weeks ago. Elaine and I were talking about, and less than a minute left. They're ahead by a goal. The Leafs are ahead by a goal, and Morgan Riley is on the ice. And I was like, he is your worst defensive defenseman. Like, what is Berube thinking? I mean, and of course they tie the game and lose in overtime, and it's just like stuff like that just drives me nuts watching that team, and I'm not even a fan.
Funny enough, he's been injured, and well, it's not funny. I never wish injury upon anybody, but he's been injured and away for 3 games now, and the Leafs been winning, interestingly. And Carlo's been playing better, and I don't know what's that mystery behind it, but
that's another trade that you might want to regret.
Fraser Minton,
Fraser Minton in Boston's doing unbelievable.
And T-Bag, not only that, just remember that the pick is top 5 protected. So if we finish, for example, and we end up with a 6th or 7th overall pick, Boston is laughing because we don't get to pick it. And then they have Fraser Minton. It's asset management, terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you know what else? Nobody thinks about this. That trade happened right before the deadline. It was a last second move. Last second moves are usually, especially by buyers, are usually overpays, but that was more than an overpay. And again, you haven't I don't expect Brad Treliving or Keith Pelly or any of Rogers to go up there and say, yeah, we made a bad trade. That's not what I want from them. I just want action because we've been sitting here year after year after year, running the core back, running this back. Everyone's okay. We're going to have a good summer. We're going to work harder. We're going to make adjustments, tinker with the roster this way, tinker with the roster that way. Enough's enough.
They didn't do anything during the summer. We basically lost Marner and didn't do anything significant to replace him. So
correct.
I mean, starting the season, I honestly didn't think we had great chances, but there was still hope, like any slightly delusional Leafs fan. Then in January, we had the best 2 weeks of our lives. Matthews started scoring again, ripping goals, and we were like, okay, vintage Matthews is back. And then right back to the basement.
Part of the problem, and it's a major problem, is that these guys are fat cats. The only way you can do anything about it, which is not a great way, but it's the only way, is to sit him out. So you sit the guy out. What the hell's the big deal to the guy? Does he give a crap? It's not going to cost him anything. So he's a little bit embarrassed. But that was the standard and is the standard. I could say I see it with the Rangers. You got these guys who are not playing up to their level. Kid last year, Kylie was supposed to be a great prospect, and now he's not doing what he's supposed to do. What are you going to do with this guy? Can't do anything with him because his salary is locked in, and he doesn't give a crap because all he has to do is sit in the press box, watch a game or two, and he's back with the team. So there is no solution with the amount of dough they're getting. Now, when I started to watch the Rangers back at the start of the 50s, if the guy didn't live up, what they did? They gave him a one-way ticket to one of the farm teams. You got a one-way ticket to New Haven, when New Haven was a Ranger farm team. So it's very, very, very difficult. What can a manager do besides the coach? What you can do? Okay, so you're not going to play tonight. I'm going to put somebody else in. I don't know. Not much. That's not much of a threat as far as I'm concerned. As long as the contracts are guaranteed, which they are. The contracts are guaranteed. So that's the definition. The definition of a fat cat is the guy on the Rangers, Lafreniere. He was the first pick. It was a guarantee.
Sure was.
And now he's not a guarantee. He's not even a T. That's how bad this guy is. So thank you. That guy worked on that, Elena. Anyhow, your fans have to hope for the best, really, because as far as I know, I have always said, going back to when he Connie Smythe, when everybody was buying season tickets. They had a waiting list for season tickets, and it's going to be the same. People are not going to. You're not going to have empty seats like they had at the Garden the other day. The fans are chanting "Fire Drury," but in Toronto, you can teach 19 cockroaches how to skate, and you'll still sell out the building. Probably going to hear from the cockroach union. I know that. I don't care.
Well, Mark touched on it earlier, but I think the best thing that could happen to the league right now is if they outlawed the no movement clause in the contract and the no trade, because like you say, there's no accountability, there's no punishment for bad play. I mean, the only hammer the coach has is ice time. You can take away a guy's ice time, but he's still going to get paid. Like Elias Pettersson is still going to get his $140,000 a game, even though he's got 0 shots on goal and is a -3, which happens quite often. So, we're stuck with that contract for the next 6 years, 11.6 million a year for 6 more years. And the guy is half a point a game player and doesn't even seem to be engaged. Just once he signed that contract, he just dropped off a cliff. And so, and
same thing. Yeah, same thing. Absolutely, the same thing. If you're telling me that this guy's getting $140,000, what is it, game?
A game, yeah.
Game. So you should give him a coupon, and the coupon says if you want to get that check cashed, you got to give me a 1-minute interview. 1-minute interview for $140,000. Really. It's not a bad deal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pettersson really fell. Teabag Pettersson really fell off a cliff. Crazy, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we got him for 6 more years. So
yeah, you guys need McKenna ASAP.
The Canucks always get hosed in the draft. They always get hosed because they have never, since the lottery came into effect, they have never ever moved up. They have only stayed the same or moved down. So
maybe when you guys build your practice facility, you guys will get rewarded a little bit, huh?
Well, yeah,
that's crazy. I have a buddy who works for the Abbotsford Canucks. He lives out in Abbey, and he always tells me how it's crazy. Like, the players talk about it too. It's just, you look at again, not every team's world class, but you look at some of these facilities and you're like Vancouver, like one of the most beautiful cities in North America, can't build a practice facility for their players. Like, it's mind boggling.
Yeah, I know they used to practice at 8 rinks where my beer league team played, so we used to watch them practice quite often, and the visiting teams too. Oh, they used to have practice at the local rink. Yeah, so good place to get autographs. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I was on a Saturday morning and I was playing pickup hockey with a group that played every Saturday morning at 9:00, and plays going on, and the dressing rooms are right behind me, and so somebody put one by me so I can dig in the puck out of the net, and I look up and Robbie Ftorek is standing there with a bunch of the New Jersey Devils.
That's great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So I was tried to put on a show for them, but I don't think they scouted me.
Isn't Vancouver kind of known for producing top athletes? I think Bedard's from there, right? And Celebrini as well.
Yeah, they both went to the West Van Academy, which is a great academy out there.
Celebrini is from North Vancouver.
Yeah.
I was just doing a story comparing him with Thornton, Joe Thornton, who was the first real star, and now San Jose and Celebrini. Seems like a good kid, but you can't tell. There are players. I was talking to George Falkowski. We were talking about the Hughes kid, and Jack Hughes, who's very difficult with the media. Not that the other brothers, I gather, are much easier to deal with. But I go back to, you reminded me of a very frustrating Bruin prospect who played for them. I think he also played for the Canadians, Cliff Pennington.
Oh, sure.
And they had a bad game. I think the coach may have been Harry Neal, had great lines. He says, Cliff, why don't you jump off your name?
Yeah, Harry was great for a quote. Yeah, when he was coaching the Canucks.
Give me a favorite Neal.
Yeah, he was coaching the Canucks, and he said to the media after a loss, he said, well, we can't win at home and we can't win it on the road. My only fault as coach is I can't figure out any other place to play.
He said, there've been characters over the years. Some of the coaches have been hilarious. I remember a Leafs coach who had played, I think he coached or played for San Jose. Great guy. Give me some coaches from way back.
Like Punch Imlock?
No, this is after Punch. This guy.
John Brophy?
No.
Pat Quinn?
He was a funny guy. Well, it was about 10 years ago.
Leafs, Ron Wilson?
Ron Wilson was
way
one
to
of
go.
the biggest guys in the world. And I pulled a stunt on him. They were at the Garden. And after every game, there's a posse. The Toronto media is like a posse. They're coming all over the place. And I was doing post game. And by this time, there was about four rows of them, and it would be impossible for anybody to get to them. So what I did was I did a fishless submarine, and I crawled through the legs, wound up in front, and Wilson nearly plots. And he said, "What the hell are you doing there?" I said, "Well, I've made the New York subways work. I'll make you work also." He's a great guy. I loved Washington. I loved him.
He was actually Maeve. He coached the 2010 U.S. Olympic team as well.
He's a great guy. He's in South Carolina, they tell me. I miss him. I like that guy.
He coached the 2010 U.S. team.
Bruce Boudreau is another fun guy. Miss him also.
Yeah.
And of course, the funniest of the fun guys was Cherry. Only he wound up not being funny anymore. And that was the end of that.
We were Grapes?
Yeah, today's Don Cherry's birthday.
Yesterday.
I sent him a note. I reminded him I was his first ghostwriter, for crying out loud. You know that?
Yeah. You were good friends with Grapes, Maeve?
I was very good friends with Grapes. As a matter of fact, that's how I wound up doing his book. Because nobody knew who the hell Grapes was at the beginning. And it grew. And I said, my buddy Tommy McVie could have been as popular as Grapes without the cockamamie jackets that he was wearing, but Tommy didn't have an agent, and that was it. Tommy was as funny as any guy. Tommy was old school in the new school, and he was able to get away with it for a while. We had him in Jersey. He actually took the Rangers to Game 7 in Marty Berdeur's rookie year. And they canned him anyhow, but that's another loose story.
Grapes, yep. Happy birthday, 92 to the legend Grapes. We miss him. He's the best.
I'm surprised that somebody else didn't pick him up.
Well, oh God, it was so sad. That was 2000. That was right before COVID. It was November 2019. Oh God, it was just. I remember I was watching Hockey Night in Canada. I remember it was like 2 weeks before, and I was just. Like many others, it was just so good to have him around. Like they had it down to pat. Like the intro with Foster Hewitt, first intermission was Coach's Corner, second intermission was Saturday Headlines with Elliot, CJ, Nick Kiprios, Doug McLean. It was just an amazing panel. And then After Hours was amazing. It was just like the whole. It was an amazing program, and it just. Yeah, I don't want to talk. I don't want to dig too much into it, but it sucked.
Here's something.
Scott Oak, do you remember Scott Oak? Maybe you ever had anything to do with Scott Oak? He did After Hours of Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah, I remember Scott Oak.
He's wonderful. Christine Simpson, she was amazing.
I worked with her. I worked with Christine.
She was fantastic.
He's great league. But imagine if you want to wait, I'll give you some homework for the next show. Imagine if Matthews was on the Maple Leafs when Connie Smythe was running the team in the late 40s, and he pulled that crap. He would send. I think he would send Matthews to Dubuque, Iowa, hoping that they didn't have a team.
Yeah, you might be right, Maeve. You might be right.
Now he's demeaned me. Used to be I'm right. Now I might be right. So I have to flip a coin to see whether I'm right or not right tonight. I don't have a coin. I have to borrow it from Matthews. I need a coin.
That's great.
Maeve predicted that Finland is gonna win in the Olympics. What do you think?
Wow, Maeve, that is a hot take, Maeve. You think Finland's gonna win the Olympics?
Why not? They're undefeated.
Maeve, you're the best.
There's nothing to worry about. Well, you think that just because the Canadians have McDavid and all these other schlemiels that they're automatically going to win? They haven't had time to play together.
That's true, Maeve, but we got practice.
Hmm?
What about Finland? Finland, I'm saying everyone just got to the Olympics like over the last 24, 48 hours. Everyone just landed in Milan.
They're a good underdog. That's what they are.
Okay, it's fair. I don't think Canada's automatically going to win. I would just say that with that team, they're probably the favorites.
How can Canada be a favorite with lousy goaltending?
I don't think Logan Thompson's bad. I think he's a wonderful goalie. I think a lot of people are about to find that out over the next 2 weeks.
Guys with two names, his name should be Thompson Logan. I like.
See, Maeve, if you're nitpicking at that, that's how I know I'm doing well. If you're nitpicking at his name, I know I brought up a good point.
By the way, I have a joke tonight, but since we were talking about media, I have a semi-funny story to tell when it's joke time. So you let me know. Just give me a cue. Go like that.
Okay.
The Maven.
Mark, what's your prediction? Where do you think the Leafs are going to end up in the standings?
It's hard to predict because we don't know what's going to be at the deadline. Like if we had a clear, if Brad Treliving came out or Pelly or one of these guys in the front office and said, this is the direction we're heading in, then we would know. Then I would be able to give you more of a clear indication as to how I personally feel. Elliott reported, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that the Leafs are looking at all options and looking to sell off the right pieces from the roster to get assets. So if that is the case, I would say we probably finish outside of a playoff spot looking in. The problem with that issue is that we are still not going to be within that top 5 range where we need in order to keep our draft pick, which I think is so crucial if you plan on keeping Austin Matthews and William Nylander. Because if you plan on keeping them, then you probably want to draft one of Ivan Stenberg, the Swedish phenom, Keaton Verov, North Dakota's finest from Sherwood Park, Alberta, 6'4" defenseman, who quoted by Bush out in West is the best Canadian defenseman out of Western Canada in many years. Or Gavin McKenna, or Tynan Lawrence, one of these kids, or Caleb Malhotra. You're taking one of these high-end kids who are going to be ready to come to the show in the next 1 to 2 years. That's probably your plan because if you keep Nylander and Matthews, which I think that's what the Leafs would want to do because they still want to sell tickets. So if you want to do that, then you have to sell off enough pieces and shut down Matthews due to injury, fall into the bottom 3 or 4, spots, between 28 and 32 overall in the standings to give yourself basically a guaranteed chance of keeping your top 5 pick and then be able to retool for next year. So if that's the case, then that's what I would predict. But again, you don't know. Because Treliving can wake up, we can rattle off 3 wins after the Olympics, and we might be looking at ourselves saying, oh, that's it, we're buying again. We're giving up our second pick this year, which would be a horrendous idea. But you never know. So I feel bad. I can't give you a direct answer, but if I were the team, I would sell, tank, draft one of those kids I just mentioned. If we can get one of Verhoff or McKenna or Steinberg or Malhotra or Lawrence, like you're in really good hands and you just got a really good player that can help your team just tremendously and pretty, I wouldn't say instantly, but pretty close to it within a year or two. And that'll keep Matthews, Nylander, within that time frame where they're still elite, high-end elite players. But if you ask me, I think we should sell everything and just start from scratch. But it's my humble opinion.
I agree. Cancel the parade. Tank is back on.
Yeah, the tank is definitely back on. Like, let's focus on the Marlies. I'm sure T-Bag feels the same way about the Canucks. Like, there's just, if I like, obviously giving Jake DeBrusk that contract was, he's a good player, but like, just sell. Boyum is excellent. Boyum is a really good piece. He's excellent. T-Bag, how do you feel about him?
Yeah, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Quinn Hughes, the way he plays and
I
stuff.
love his swag. He's a future captain. Like, I saw the kid play at Denver. He played at Denver University the last couple of years. He's a tremendous player. Besides being a fellow Jew like me and the Maven, so we have a special soft spot for him too. But he's just his leadership and the way you know what it is. Some guys just have this demeanor on the ice that you know that they're going to be tremendous players. Like Schaefer has it, Boyum has it, Celebrate. Like there's a swag, but it's a humility of a swag where you're confident, you know you're an excellent player, but you're not. It's a special demeanor, and Boyum carries that. And then market like Vancouver, where there's a lot of pressure, similar to Toronto, that's what you need on your back end. And I love Quinn Hughes, another fellow Jew, and he's an excellent player. But I don't think he could be. Boyum will never be as good as him. But the demeanor that Boyum carries himself with is special, and it's a character, and you need that in your room. And I see him being a future captain in Vancouver one day.
Yeah, well, Quinn Hughes only comes around once in a lifetime, I think, and so Byam is about as close as we're gonna get. And he, like I say, he has tremendous upside, and I can just see it. And he's he's young, he's making some mistakes, and he's getting burned a little bit, but they're letting him play through it, which I think is great. And but I think. At the end of this season, I think Adam Graves has got to go, and they got to get a better coach in there for these young.
Adam Foote, you said.
Adam Foote, yeah. So, and what did I say?
What do you think about Jimmy Rutherford and Patrick Allvin?
Well, they were supposed to be the answer, and they've dropped us off a cliff, and so ownership, I don't know, they got to take a serious hard look about gutting the whole thing. And luckily we have all our draft picks. We haven't traded many away, if any. And so, like you say, the resounding intellect always says you build through the draft, and so many teams are willing to trade away all their draft picks. So the Canucks have kept theirs, and I'm hoping that they're going to build through. You look at Colorado; they were built through the draft. McCarr was drafted, McKinnon was drafted.
That's what Elaine and I were talking about with the Leafs. Like, you're 100% right.
So Canucks have got to build through the draft and be patient, not throw out the baby with the bathwater,
I'm going to close my end of the show with the third worst doctor joke, but fast. And then I'm going to tell a story about what we were talking about, guys in the dressing room. And the joke is that guy goes to the doctor and he says to the doctor, "It hurts up here. What should I do?" And the doctor says, "Well, don't go there." So that's, I told you, it's the third worst joke. Doctor joke, anyhow. So this is a true story. So what happened? During the golden age of the Devils, and believe me, that was so golden. The Devils had the best post-game, pre-game, any kind of interview. And Marty Brodeur. Marty Brodeur was the best. Never in the worst position he was in terms of the media, and he showed up. Okay? So I had a thing, unlike a lot of the interviewers like to hear themselves talk. So they ask a question that takes about 6 minutes to get out of the guy's mouth. And by that time, everybody wants to fall asleep. So I had a technique of my own that instead of this bourgeois, I go to the guy and I say, "Your thoughts." That's all. Your thoughts. 2 words. Doesn't take any amount of time. Guy knows what it's all about. And in and out. Okay? I've done this with the Devils for about 2 years. And I go to my first favorite guy to go over to, because this guy was always so eloquent, Patrick Eliash. And I go over to Patrick and I get the mic, we get the camera in question. Before I could open my mouth, he says to me, "Your thoughts." I nearly dropped it on the site. It was funny. He was another great guy. What a room that was. You had Scotty Gomez, I mean, Johnny Madden, and one after even the worst guy, which he really wasn't the worst, he was just a great guy. Madden was just and Madden could get snotty, but in a good way. But his sidekick, Jay Pandolfo, was a very quiet guy. But even Jay, he's quiet in a nice way. That room should have gotten a medal. Same with the Islanders, with Bossy and Trache, and I mean Gillies is going to give you a joke, but we're here today. We solved many problems. I thought this was we should get paid by the Maple Leafs and the Rangers for giving. We're consultants. That's what we should get.
Absolutely.
Send them a bill.
Maeve, that was great.
Send them a bill. We were consultants, right?
Teabag it away now. What are your predictions for the Olympics, guys?
I think Canada's going to win if our goaltending is going to hold up. We have good chances. We have a great team. Very looking forward to that. I wish Russia was playing, though.
Yes, we do.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
What about that Russian team would be a lot of fun.
That's a damn shame. Yeah, but
Teabag, what about you?
Picking Canada, Sweden in the final, and it's a toss-up as far as I'm concerned. So,
okay.
Yeah, and maybe we were talking about the all-name team yesterday on that New Jersey team. One of my favorite players was Bruce Driver. I thought was a great name.
That's a really good question, because Bruce was there before the other guys. He came in, in the very, very early days, and they were struggling. From 1982 until they finally made the playoffs in '88. There's a lot of suffering. Bruce is very eloquent, very thoughtful, but he was at the beginning he was nasty, and then he just changed. He said we should have him on sometime. He was a good guy, and he was the one who made the point that that team turned around in the very last practice in Boston, in the first round. When they won the first cup, that everything crystallized at that caption. It was I always remembered that line. I liked Bruce.
Right.
I liked Bruce.
Amazing.
I liked all the guys. Yeah, there wasn't a rotter in the lot. They were all good. Same thing. The only one on the Islanders who gave me a hard time was Bossy, and he had a reason to, and then he explained why. He didn't like my joke.
You didn't like your what, Maeve? You didn't like your what?
Jokes.
That's great. Guys, this is cool.
Right?
Hey, Mark, I just want to ask Mark one last question. How tall are you? Because that camera angle makes it look like your head's brushing up against the ceiling.
Oh, no. I just like to stand up. I'm short. I'm 5'4". I'm a short guy. I'm not tall at all. I just like to. I'm just moving around.
Hey, Mark,
that camera angle makes you look like you're 6'9".
No, definitely not. I'm a 2A center, and I get low, but I ain't 6'9". I'm more of a Cole Caulfield than I am as Dan Chara.
Next week, Elena, bring in a couple of clothespins. This guy walked on my line 7 times tonight. This Mark. Just for that, we're going to sit you out for the next game.
Oh, Maeve, I'm going to be seeing you very soon, Maeve. I'm looking forward.
Yeah, well, they wrote a song about you.
Who's that?
How can I miss you if you don't go away?
The Maven, there he is.
Right.
I got to live. I got to tell you, I wrote a song about my old girlfriend. I'll never forget what's her name.
Maeve, you're buzzing today, big time, man. This is
you want to know what? You want to know a love song I also wrote? What will we do with the butter when the? I forgot the punchline.
Oh man.
No,
man.
No, the love song. The love song is. I used to say to my wife, "I can't get over you, so get up and answer the telephone yourself."
Maeve, you're too much. You're too much, Maeve. You're buzzing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right, guys. Thank you so much.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us today. Big thanks to Maeve and Jerry, and to everyone listening and watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on socials, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Can't wait to do this again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Go Leafs, go.
Go Leafs, go.
Go
Go, Canada.
Seahawks.